Most of us know by now that the NSA is conducting mass surveillance on every American citizen. Every text message, every email, every phone call that you make is analyzed and stored by this agency. Now, the NSA have come out before saying that they don't necessarily store the full contents of your calls and your emails, but rather what they do is collect the metadata that is associated with this, such as who you called, when you sent that text message, and what your location was when you made that post to Instagram. And a lot of this metadata is stored in places like the Utah data center, which is estimated to be able to hold several exabytes of this collected metadata. And this is just the information that is passively collected from every citizen, regardless of whether or not they are actually a criminal. But of course, in cases where the feds and police are after someone they suspect to be a criminal, they have the ability to subpoena email providers, internet companies, phone companies, and even social media entities to get a much more detailed insight into that criminal's behavior. Sometimes they'll even bug these services so that they can monitor the criminal's communications in real time. Just take something like the Amazon Echo, for example. This provides a huge opportunity for law enforcement. It's just one device that is owned by one company, but it's in the homes of millions of people. I wouldn't be surprised if most active gangs right now have at least 2 high-ranking members within them that have an Echo Dot in their house, either the house that they stay at or maybe one of their trap houses. And the feds could be using it as a wiretap right now. I tell you, the glowies of old would have given anything to live in a society where crime bosses just install wiretaps in their homes on their own, and getting a recorded confession of a murder from a street-level gangster is as simple as letting that guy go live on Instagram.
I don't know I'm a shoot. On God, I hit about 4 times. Be going to the hospital tonight.
For real?
On God, these gonna put them in the hospital. These full metal jackets.
But wouldn't you know it? The massive dragnet surveillance and the easy access to social media and the fact that 1 in 3 dope boys just end up self-snitching still isn't good enough for the feds. They want to gather even more data on people, and not just the gangsters. They want to gather data on you too, because everybody is a suspect. That's why multiple government agencies have resorted to purchasing data from third-party companies. Now, the main reason that they have resorted to buying this data is because it allows the feds to get way more information from you without needing to go get a warrant first, since private companies don't need warrants to collect information. And we actually have one of these purchase orders from 2017 that have recently been made public due to a FOIA request. So we can see in the supplies or services listed here that the FBI paid for commercially provided net flow information or data for 2 months of service. And for this, they paid $76,450. Damn! That's a nice chunk of change to get for selling just a bunch of zeros and ones for 2 months. And the biggest slap in the face here is the fact that it's really your money that's being used to make this purchase. Because you've never seen the FBI run a lemonade stand, you've never seen them make monetized YouTube videos or TikToks. All of their bread comes from taxes and civil forfeiture. They've never really earned a dime in their life. Now, the company that they've been purchasing this data from is called Team Cymru. They've offered what they call pure signal recon, and this is constructed from data that Team Cymru purchases directly from ISPs. Again, the feds would normally need to go through legal channels to get this kind of information, but Team Cymru is able to get this data from the ISPs through deals that they've made. Basically, they are offering them intelligence or threat intelligence in exchange for this very detailed insight into what's going on within the ISP's entire network. Now, Team Cymru is able to gather so much data from multiple ISPs that they claim their products can even track traffic through virtual private networks, and they can show which server traffic is originating from when somebody's trying to obfuscate it. These tools are commonly used for finding things like command and control servers that are used to run massive botnets. And what I find even more disturbing than companies like Team Cymru that are collecting so much data and then working so closely with law enforcement to sell it is how much they entrench themselves in these different networks in order to get this traffic insight in the first place. Like I said, with ISPs, they're trading threat intelligence services for them in order to get raw network data from several different ISPs, which is an agreement that I'm sure both of these parties or all of these different parties are happy with. But Team Cymru has also done some shady stuff in the past, like they have donated hardware and significant amounts of bandwidth to the Tor network for several years. So a company like Team Cymru clearly has goals that are opposed to the Tor project, and who knows how much information they've been able to reveal about Tor users to law enforcement. And this is probably why the Tor project has decided to start moving away from using all of this donated bandwidth and infrastructure. Now, it probably is worth mentioning, and they've explained this here in their blog post, that there are cryptographic proofs that can be used on the Tor network in order to make sure that somebody isn't just running a modified relay. And according to the Tor project, all of the Tor relays that were hosted at Cymru were cleanly installed using full disk encryption, meaning that the relays at least appeared to be configured like normal ones. But you've got to imagine that if there's a company whose job is to monitor traffic and they're so good at it that the FBI is willing to pay them tens of thousands of dollars for it, that they're probably smart enough to use external monitoring equipment that the Tor network and the cryptographic proofs wouldn't be able to detect. And the FBI is not Team Cymru's only customer. The US military has also bought a mass monitoring tool from them, which is codenamed Augury, which enables network forensics at internet scales. Some people have even described this tool as being able to capture everything except for the smell of electricity. The tool collects network data from over 550 collection points that are located all over the world, and it's updated with at least 100 billion new records every single day. And according to the US government's own description of the tool, it provides web-based access to an online repository of petabytes of current and historical network data. But the shady data collection gets even shadier from here, because the DEA decided to skip getting warrants, skip paying organizations for data and going through all of that red tape, just go directly to a person working at the post office that you can bribe to do some favors for you. You can bribe them to tell you if a particular individual came in that day and shipped anything. Or better yet, you can bribe that employee to take the package that person dropped off, open it up, see what's inside, and maybe mail it somewhere else. All of which is very illegal, by the way, which is probably why the DEA isn't just going ahead and doing it themselves. The DEA also paid an Amtrak employee for confidential passenger information, such as the names of people that were traveling, travel dates, seat numbers, baggage information, credit card numbers, passport numbers, and more. And the DEA paid this Amtrak secretary over $850,000 over the course of 19 years for this info. So this secretary had two jobs for the past decade. They were an Amtrak secretary and a professional snitch. And the worst thing about this story is that according to this Washington Post article, these records that the DEA paid almost $1 million for were already available to them for free through an agreement with the Amtrak police. But I guess it's pretty easy to just go ahead and waste $1 million if it's not your own money, because just like the FBI, all of the DEA's money comes from taxes. The government is spending millions of your own money on your data under the guise that it's for your protection. But ask yourself, do you really feel that much safer online?